All right, here we go. So, welcome back. Took the Monday off after an exhausting weekend. So, I had an incredible time this weekend. As I was mentioning last week, I was preparing for a Team Trios event where I would be playing the Pioneer seat. That was the face-to-face Open Plus here in Toronto, Ontario. And it was a 90-team field, which was well above their expected number of teams. They were prepared for 70, and they ended up opening it up. So tournament got started a little late, and my wonderful team took me all the way to the finals, where we were defeated by just an incredible group of guys. So I will definitely link that at some point on my Mono G Karn video later this week, when the article goes up and the deck list is published online. Of course, that was Aspiring Spikes list, almost card for card. I think I played the list that Canister did so well in the prelim with. So, in honor of that, today I'm going to be playing two decks featuring the planeswalker that took me all the way to the finals, Karn, the Great Creator. This list is very similar to the deck that I wanted to play for my Pioneer seat, but I didn't think I would be able to obtain 4 copies of Heliod Suncrowned at a reasonable rate. So what are we playing? We're playing Mono White Heliod Karn. It's the Mono White Devotion deck with 4 copies of Karn, the Great Creator. So as I mentioned before, but I will mention again, Karn, the Great Creator has a -2 that says you may choose an artifact card you own from outside the game or in exile. Reveal that card and put it into your hand. So he is effectively a wish. You get to wish for an artifact. So Aspiring Spike kind of nailed down that in the Pioneer format right now, this is a very powerful effect because there are a large number of Inverter players, and I haven't seen too many Breach players, the Lotus Field deck. That deck has not been performing very well outside of Players Tour events, but generally speaking, Karn gives you a lot of versatility in your Game 1 plan. So in this case, we've got access to Darksteel Citadel for a land drop, but importantly, Tormod's Crypt, we can use as a 0-mana artifact as a way to exile our opponent's entire graveyard. And this deck is not playing a God Pharaoh's statue to sort of lock our opponent out of the game. We're not as likely to have 6 mana the turn after we play Karn on 4. So while this deck is still using Karn, the Great Creator, and a Devotion Shell, it's not as mana flush, mana rich as the mono green version. So our wish board here is also a little bit smaller. So we do have, hold on, let me make sure I get everything that's supposed to be in there. So we've got Darksteel Citadel, Tormod's Crypt for graveyard removal, Pithing Needle, usually use that to shut down planeswalkers, Damping Spheres, of course, for the Breach decks. Sky Sovereign is exceptional in any mid-range matchup. It comes into play and deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, but then Karn can actually crew it by +1ing and turning it into a 5/5 flyer that whenever it attacks, it still gets to lightning bolt a creature or planeswalker. We've also got the Immortal Sun in here. I'm not sure how much we'll ever end up using that, but it's certainly something that is possible. It does give you an extra draw every turn. It does make all your spells cost less and give creatures that you control +1/+1, although it does turn off your Karn. So not 100% sure how much that's going to be relevant. We've got the 4th copy of Walking Ballista, and we've got a Cataclysmic Gearhulk, which when it enters the battlefield, each player chooses an artifact, creature, enchantment, and planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, sacrifices the rest. This is exceptional in this deck because some of our creatures are enchantments, so we can choose them as the enchantment we don't sacrifice. We can choose Gearhulk as the artifact we don't sacrifice, and then we can choose a non-artifact and non-enchantment creature, so we can actually keep 3 creatures when we Gearhulk. And then we've got Glass Casket as generally decent removal for a creature. Now this deck actually does have a little bit of a sideboard, so we've got Glare of Heresy that exiles target white permanent, Rest in Peace to nuke the graveyards, and Gideon's Intervention. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to use that for, but it prevents all damage that would be dealt to me and permanents I control by sources of a chosen name. So and it prevents our opponents from casting spells with that name. Not 100% sure what I'm supposed to do with that, but I guess we'll figure it out as we go. And then, as with the other Heliod Mono White Devotion deck, the sort of big story of this deck is always Heliod Suncrowned, which is a 3-mana 5/5 legendary enchantment creature god. It's not actually a creature until you have 5 devotion to white or 5 white mana symbols within permanents you control. However, he has an ability that is still active even when he's not a creature, which is whenever you gain life, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. he has an activated ability that says another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. So if you have a Walking Ballista with at least 2 counters on it and you give it lifelink, when you remove a counter, you deal 1 damage to target creature or player, well, any target. And then because the Walking Ballista has lifelink, you get a Heliod trigger that allows you to put another counter on the Walking Ballista. This goes infinite, and then you are able to end the game on the spot. The deck is playing a few other ways to help you along with that because it is quite a mana-intensive combo. So you've got Daxos, Blessed by the Sun. If you have a Heliod in play, when you play a Walking Ballista, you get a free Heliod trigger, which will put the second counter on Walking Ballista, so you can play a 2-mana Walking Ballista and then give it lifelink for the other 2 mana, so it cuts 2 mana off your combo. Same with Anafenza, Kintree Spirit. When you play a 2-mana Walking Ballista, it will have 1 toughness, so you can choose to bolster it, put an extra counter on it, and immediately go off. So this deck is playing a setup that I quite like. I talked about a lot of the other cards in my previous video about Mono White Devotion, so let's just get rocking and reeling. Rolling into this Pioneer League here. It's a beautiful Tuesday night. It's getting a little warmer. Spring has sprung. For any Americans, it's Super Tuesday. Make sure you make your voice heard. Whichever side that you want to voice that voice for. And we are rocking into match number 1. So, had an incredible run with Mono Green Devotion. I think it is likely that I will stream that later this week, maybe Friday. And we shall see if I can run back some decent results. My total record on the day was 7-3, although I did go 3-1 against Inverter. The one loss to Inverter was a 1-2 that was fairly close. Just generally speaking, the Mono Green Devotion deck is fantastic, really fun to play, incredibly powerful if you get good draws, and you can mulligan very aggressively. So it's definitely a good choice for this weekend. We'll see if it continues to be a force to be reckoned with as Pioneer continues. Here we go. Match the first. Bow to Tinha, way down on the trophy lead. Well, tied for 3rd here with Jabberwocky, but Andy C 1986 really tearing away a little bit with 16 5-0s. All right, maybe this one. There we go. Looks like a pretty rough hand. We're going to hit a mulligan here in our first game against Jawbreaker 451. So this is an incredibly mediocre turn 5 kill. But with my opponent mulliganing to 6, I'm going to keep this and toss an Arcanist Owl. We have 3 lands and a Walking Ballista and a Heliod, so kind of one that I don't want to turn my nose up at. It's not particularly good, but if I get Thoughtsseized, this will be a reasonable hand. Temple of Plenty from the opponent. I have no idea what this means. Likely 5-color Niv Mizzet. Multa 5 does not bode well for them. They kind of need a critical mass of things. Picking up a Karn, the Great Creator, is not awful. If I am against 5-color Niv Mizzet, probably... Oh, no. Another white-green land. Interesting. So, okay. Herald of Pantheon. So we are actually against Enchantress. Not a deck you see too much of in this format, but definitely is out there. I wonder if they have any removal. I think we'll be likely to find out reasonably quickly. We hit our 4th land, which is great, so we get to curve right up into Heliod's Suncrown. And there's a good chance we're just going to combo them out of this game in game 1, depending on if they actually have a piece of removal or not. Sky Sovereign might be one of the better pickups from our sideboard here. We shall see. Other than that, I can't imagine that there's too much else here that's particularly good. Oh, possibly. No, Cataclysmic Gearhulk is not good against them for the same reason it is good for us. Glass Casket is an okay piece of removal. Maybe could be useful here. Nykthos. Well, it's not particularly useful right now, although I do get to boot up Heliod next turn, so if we play Heliod into Owl, I can't quite crank my Walking Ballista, so next turn and give it lifelink, so we'll just probably be playing the Arcanist Owl next turn to be able to attack with my Heliod. Opponent recovering a little bit on cards with the Courser of Crewfix, essentially drawing them an extra card. We've got a Banishing Light on top of their deck, so they are going to be able to get rid of my Walking Ballista or my Heliod next turn. So, want to be wary of that. Definitely going to play the Arcanist Owl, though, because that's going to give us more access to Devotion Pips, which will give us more mana to work with post-Karn. Eidolon of Blossoms, yeah. So opponent's going to start drawing some cards here. Sphere of Safety is an interesting card. Generally speaking, it's very good against aggressive decks, which ours can act like an aggressive deck, but in this particular matchup, we're not interested in aggression. We're just interested in comboing our opponent out of this game. So definitely going to fire off this Arcanist Owl. Arcanist Owl, worth pointing out, so it has a trigger when it comes into play that allows you to look at the top 4. You can pick an artifact or enchantment. I'm going to take another Arcanist Owl. This is going to give us a crazy amount of devotion pips. So if they make the wrong choice on the next turn with their Banishing Light, they could lose rather quickly. Kraken for 5 with Heliod, pretty good. And then... yeah, there's a pretty good potential that even though they could basically lock us out of being able to attack, that we're just going to be able to completely blow them out with our combo. Herald of the Pantheon, sure. So enchantments are now reduced by 2. A Shock off the top, yes, yeah, off the top. So again, drawing a card. So they've really bounced back into this game from mulligan to 5. Well done, opponent. Banishing Light for 1 mana. Yep. Now, what they target here is going to be really interesting and relevant. If they target my Heliod, that's considerably worse for me. Let's see what they target. They do, in fact, target the Heliod, so that is less than great. Can Karn get me anything to deal with that? I don't think so. I suppose Cataclysmic Gearhulk kind of puts them in a rough spot. They have to choose which thing they want to keep. And losing a Walking Ballista is not the end of the world at this point, so could be our choice in this particular game. Opponent's on 5 lands, so if I play Knight of the White Orchid, I get a Plains out of my deck, which leaves me with 3 mana. I can then use Nykthos for 6 mana. So... believe that will be my option. I can get an Idyllic Grange here with this trigger. So it allows you to search your library for any plains and put it onto the battlefield, and Idyllic Grange does have the plains creature type, so we're going to do that. I'm going to target my boy Walking Ballista. So the Ballista will now be able to kill their Eidolon of Blossoms if I choose. Question is, this turn, do I want to fire off Arcanist Owl or play a slightly vulnerable Karn? If I play Karn, I have 3 mana left afterwards, which is not a tremendously large amount. But they drew Calyx. We know they drew Calyx. they won't be able to attack my Karn down. So actually what we're going to do here is add devotion to white, play Karn. I'm going to go grab my boy DJ Calyx, is going to get needled. So should be in pretty good shape from here. Oop. Did I? Yeah, okay. Switch over to gameplay. All right. So make a wish. Yes. Thanks for asking, Moto. Thanks for asking. It's very important that you make 100% clear with me what I want to do here. This could even be an Immortal Sun game, just because I feel like it would pull me so far ahead. Although it would turn off my Karn, which is a little sad always. So, is it Calyx Destiny's Hand? Yeah, it is. Okay. Is there a second Calyx that's legal? Somehow there isn't. I thought there'd be a Planeswalker deck one for sure, but... Oh no, it's Ashiok and Elspeth. Okay, pass the turn here, and let's see where we're at. Don't need to do any attacking, just interested in preserving my Karn's loyalty. Wolf Willow Haven on top, so they cannot draw here. So we're looking in pretty good shape, and the second Arcanist Owl digs us deeper towards my friend... Heliod. So if we hit a Heliod next turn, we could just win the game on the spot. Probably Sphere of Safety. Yep. I also have enough mana next turn that I'm going to be able to do some work. Because I got to pick up the Haven. They get to play the Haven. Oh, and draw another card. Oh, shoot. Yeah. Could have fired off and killed the Eidolon of Blossoms this turn. Luckily, we're not too punished. They didn't get to another piece of removal, so going to be able to start machine gunning down their team here. Sphere Safety does make it very difficult to attack them, but that's not really where we're at. And there's a Heliod, so I think we just win on the spot now. So I can add 6 with Nykthos. Play the Owl. Play a second Nykthos. So, I mean, I'm going for a little bit extra value right now, but which I really don't need to do. But so play the second Nykthos, keep that one, tap this for what, 10? Cool. Play second Heliod, and this is Lights Out opponent. So we just go infinite here. Give my Walking Ballista lifelink. Yeah, and that's game. Having the combo finish in your deck paying off. We were also on the draw. We kept a 6. It was pretty slow, and we got rewarded for it, so that feels good. Against the green-white enchantment deck. So these are our wish targets. We don't really want to mess with them at all. So Glare of Heresies, exile target white permanent. This would get rid of Calyx or Banishing Light. So I think those are worth doing. Sorry, let's do this like I like to do this. So we'll keep those over here. And then rest in peace again, no graveyard angle is necessary. Gideon's Intervention prevents our opponent from playing spells with a chosen name. It also prevents all damage dealt to me and permanents I control by. The only reason I'm not going to bring this in is I feel like they're going to have something along the lines of Disenchant to destroy my Walking Ballista. I think I'm taking out Tomik, Distinguished Advokist. I don't think that they are... Oh no, they do have Wolf Willow Haven. So actually, he's actually a fun... He's a fun of to keep in here. Baffling End seems fine. Stasis Snare seems fine. I think Gideon in the Trials is probably less than great here. They're not... Doesn't really seem like they're going tall. I think they are more of a synergy deck. So turning off a single creature is not particularly relevant, especially when they can go wide around it. And then they'll just be able to kill him, and they're not playing anything that instantly wins the game. So I think this is a fine choice. Here we go, rocking along into game 2. So We had a really reasonable mid-range plan going already, and then we just sort of drew into the combo. This is a little sketchy, but we are playing 25 lands. We have things to do with 1 mana, and so already we need to get to 2 mana because then our Knight of the White Orchid will be able to give us the 3rd. So slightly sketchy keep here, but if we hit the 2nd land within the first couple of turns, we'll be okay. Wolfwillow Haven, so they're accelerating a little bit. That's an unfortunate draw. So we really need to pick up our 2nd land, but if we do, we get to accelerate up to 3. And we've got some clues to crack, so... And our Heliod will already turn himself on. I think Heliod's a bit of a narcissist, so... His devotion pip is like gets him 1/5 ready to be on. Well, that's a damn shame. Okay, so definitely playing some serious Magic the Gathering this game. Our Heliod will be exceptionally turned on by this board, I guess, when we get to him. They're on 5 mana, so could get into trouble quickly here. Setessan Champion. All right, this is going to go big. Luckily, we have cards like Baffling End and... well, that's not a bad pickup at all. Wait, no, that's a terrible pickup. Well, it's not great. It does let me crack clues, which is really what's going to matter at this point. But as I was saying, we have things like Baffling End and Stasis Snare in this deck to remove their creature, and it just exiles it pretty much no matter what size it is. So depending on how the next sequence of turns go, we could recover. 2 mana, 3 mana. What do you got? What are you banishing? One of my inspectors? If so, hilarious. Dude, my poor inspector ate the banishing light. I guess it reduces my devotion pips, so it's not the worst choice in the world. And we're going to take 2. 4 maybe. Opponent getting frisky. That's fine. Definitely the right choice by them. Sure. Another Courser. Yep. Another card draw. Another Eidolon. So definitely more than a little bit behind here. Baffling End is a good pickup, though. Yep. Add to my devotion here without losing much. So get that out of here. So Baffling End can exile any creature, convert a mana cost 3 or less, and then if they ever get rid of my Baffling End, they will confusingly get a 3/3 trample dinosaur. I don't understand it, but that's how it do. So they have a Seal Away on top. That's not too bad considering that my creatures are not going to be tapped anytime soon. Okay, 4. Here comes the Eidolon of Blossoms. Draws a card. Seal Away doesn't do anything right now, so they probably are not incentivized to play it. Unless they want to draw a card. Banishing Light again. Sure. Sucks to be me. Alright. Exiles my Baffling End to get, yeah, the 3/3 trample dinosaur. Well played. Yeah, we're in trouble here. So maybe a little too late on this castle. We shall see. So if I play Knight of the White Orchid, I have a 2/2 first strike, which somehow is actually relevant. Gideon's intervention is not terribly good against us yet, although they can prevent me from playing Walking Ballista with that, so definitely worth noting. So Night triggers, gets me planes. This time I only have one actual planes in play, so if I get an Idyllic Grange, it will not be particularly functional for me. So definitely not a fan of that. Night will keep me alive for a little longer, though. And then we get to crack a clue this turn, so could claw our way back into this game. Let's see. So they play land off the top, draw a card, essentially, and then gain 2 life. Then they've got the Gideon's Intervention to play. They can turn off my Walking Ballista if they choose. They've got a Stasis Champion. So I have lots of stuff to try to cut through this turn if we're expected to survive. Yeah, there's the intervention. So choose a card name. They choose Walking Ballista, I believe. Yeah, Walking Ballista, sure. Draw 2 cards, so their card draw engine is going nuts over there. Okay, they've got a cast out on top, so that's probably lights out. They've just drawn way too many removal spells and not anything I can do about it. I'm taking 7 here because I want to keep my Devotion Pips in play. Okay, so can't play this. So Nykthos gives me 1 extra mana. There's no way around that. I can play Elspeth, Conquers Death, and exile their Stasis Champion. I think that still puts me dead, though. This could exile Walking Ballista, but it's too little too late, and they've got the cast out. So we're just going to concede here. Just a little bit unlucky. 25 land deck on the draw. Couldn't hit our land before turn. I think it was 4, which is really rough. So we'll just go to 3. Go to game 3 here. So I imagine Gathering is great. Say play best of 3. So you get to cut down on your variance a little bit there. Still think the way we sideboarded is fine. Glare of Heresy could have been really good in that game, cracking out one of our things that was under a Vanishing Light. We just didn't hit one. This is obviously a much better hand than last time, but this is exceptionally keepable. It's got removal, it's got creatures, it's got Devotion Pips, so we'd like to hit another land, but ideally we want to hit 2 lands. There is a reason this is a 25 land deck. Previous version I was playing was 26. Those are both completely acceptable numbers. Alrighty. Yeah, I don't think they actually have any 1-mana plays, which explains why they're playing the Temples. Which is a bold choice in Pioneer. It's generally quite a proactive format, so I feel like doing nothing until your first several turns have elapsed is a bold choice. Cracking in for 1. Get out of here, nerd. Come on. Let my inspector inspect you. Wolf Willow Haven again, sure. Baffling End only exiles creatures, so not helpful here. Got my lightning planes. Super gorgeous. Got a little dude hanging out there under a tree. What are you doing under that tree, bud? What are you doing? That parched landscape is no place for a human. One of the things I am proud of what I did at the tournament, staying hydrated. Just all day long, baby. The right amount of coffee. opponent is a little more slow to the actions in this game. I wonder if it's correct on this turn cycle to draw a land to attempt to make sure that I hit my next land drop, or if I want to just cast a Ballista on 1. I suppose the upside of casting Ballista on 1 is pretty low. I was going to do it, but now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, I don't really need to. Cataclysmic Gearhulk off of Karn the Great Creator seems like a great thing to pick up against their deck. And gives me an out for Gideon's intervention. There we go. Cracking in here for a whopping 3. Worth noting that Karn is a redundant copy of Walking Ballista in this hand too, so I think cracking the clue is definitely a good choice. What do they got? Citizen Champion? That's great. I've got a Baffling End in my hand, so we're just going to baffle them. Nykthos is a tremendous pickup there. So Baffling End and attack, and probably play Ballista on 1 just to be mana efficient here. So get rid of that bad boy, bad girl. Haven't looked closely enough at the art. Bad human warrior. Next one, get in there, buddy. Definitely one of my favorite cards in all of Magic. I tore up a cube draft with this in my deck on the weekend, and yeah, I just love Walking Ballista so much. It's just so powerful. For Idle on a Blossom, sure. Get ye a trigger. Unfortunately, this game I do not get to constantly see what they're drawing with it. I suppose I'll have to make my peace with that. So I cannot play Anafenza and also activate the Nykthos. So I think we just go activate Nykthos, play Arcanist Owl, and then we're just going to be able to attack for 2 with Daxos. So gain 1 life, then check the top. Shisha. Miss! Well, I guess that means we're closer to drawing a Heliod. Okay, and then I could attack with Daxos. I could attack with Thraben Inspector and then trade the Walking Ballista for the Eidolon. But that puts me down a Devotion Pip and down a Walking Ballista in play, which does not seem like a good trade. So I think I'm just going to rock in like this and pass the turn. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Devotion Pips for next turn, which means I could crank my Walking Ballista 2 times, assuming that it makes it through this turn cycle. Doesn't look like it's going to. Oh, it does look like it's going to. Oh, they've got a post-combat something. Banishing Light. Okay, so this is going to hit my Walking Ballista, so that's okay. We've got another one coming. So you want to make sure you let that resolve. They are going to draw a card. Oh, shoot. I did not respond to it properly. Could have dealt a damage to them. So probably not relevant, but certainly could be. One of the best pickups in our deck actually could be a land here. Land or Heliod would be great. Another Karn is differently great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 9 mana for this turn, so I can go get Sky Sovereign and just snipe out their Eidolon. I think that's by far the best play this turn. Another option would be to play Karn and Arcanist Owl, so that next turn we have a truly terrifying amount of mana, but I think this is fine. So this is this deck doing its sort of, I'm going to call it the B plan of just being a fairly reasonable aggro deck. So get the Sky Sovereign, play the Sky Sovereign. I want to kill, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it kind of could, but it doesn't. I'm going to kill the Eidolon, get their card draw down, and then we're just going to beat in for 5. If their Herald of the Pantheon swings at my Karn, I can let that go through, or I can throw my Thraben Inspector in front of it. I think throwing the Thraben Inspector in front of it's totally fine. Losing 1 Devotion Pip at this point is not the end of the world. I already have a truly tremendous amount of mana rocking, so some weird back and forth games here. It just felt like the Enchantress deck completely overpowered us in game 2. They just drew the nuts. All right, what is cast out going to target? It has to be Sky Sovereign, right? Let's see. Maybe Karn? Yeah, Sky Sovereign. Good choice. So this does open them up to my Cataclysmic Gearhulk, giving them one devil of a choice. I mean, I think they just keep this. Keep the cast out. Eidolon of Blossoms. So they'll be able to choose 1 creature, which will be Eidolon, and they'll be able to choose 1 enchantment, which will be cast out. But I'll kill their Herald, I'll kill most of their things. And they're kind of dying to my beatdown plan pretty well. Although we can just get a gigantic Walking Ballista here and just mow down their board. So that is also an option. 8 mana. If I Karn for the Darksteel Citadel, I can play Anafenza, then Arcanist Owl, and then see where we get. Or we could just play it safe, grab crazy amount of mana. So what do I have left? I think Walking Ballista down there, Eidolon, is definitely something I need to do this turn. I can play Anafenza before that. It'll add a counter to Thraben Inspector. So add 8. Grab the extra ballista. Yeah. There you are. Play Anafenza. Play ballista on 3. Bolster Raven Inspector. And then next turn I have even more devotion, so gain 1 life, then we bolster Thraben Inspector or Anafenza. This turn we definitely want to do Thraben Inspector because this way I can attack for the most amount. So we're just going to attack with everything. We can put them into pretty bad situation on blocks. Do I want to do that? No, we just killed the Eidolon now. Yeah, so no matter what they do here, they won't be able to prevent any damage. They're just getting beaten down to 2. Can't win the game this turn, but interestingly, if I had actually gotten that 1 point of damage earlier on my other Walking Ballista, I could now kill them with this one. C'est la vie. Baffling End, sure. It's going to resolve, trigger, discard my Walking Ballista, but that's not going to save them here. I guess they could take out my Arcanist Owl. Daxos. Alright. Strange choice. Strange choice. Courser of Crufix, sure. So that gives them more of a buffer on the ground. Finally drew another planes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we had 8 mana there. We could have played Arcanist out. And we had 9, 10 mana there. So we can play Arcanist Owl, and if it draws a Heliod, we could play the Heliod, which comes in as a creature, triggers Anafenza. Anafenza puts a counter on the Ballista, and we'd be able to put lifelink on it. So let's see. 1. I said 1. 1. I said 1. All right. Apparently, I am not allowed to see the top 4 cards in my library. But if we hit a Heliod there, we can kill them on the spot. I'm just going to hit the washroom real quick. We'll hop on to match number 2. Alrighty, let's continue. So deck feels about as powerful as when I played it before. Let's see what happens if we run into any of the terrifyingly good matchups in this format, but still has the good tools to deal with it. So Gideon's Intervention, definitely a good card against Walking Ballista combo. Can't think yet of anything else in particular it's good against, but it's definitely good against a few things. Probably mono red. Opponent can't cast spells with the name. It's okay against Uro, I suppose, against Sultai. They don't have a lot of ways to destroy an enchantment that's 4 CMC, so I can see that being something relevant. Because they do play 4 copies of that, and it's a big deal for their deck. All right, here we go. So, Sivara. On the die roll. Excellent. I am not going to keep something that ambitious in game 1. This is definitely not great, but if I hit a 3rd land, I'm in okay shape, so we've got a couple draws at that. So I'm going to keep this. I'm going to toss the redundant Heliod and hopefully get paid off. We're going to lead on Idyllic Grange. And see what we do here. Choked Estuary. So we're against the inversion sensation that's sweeping the nation. Well, this Baffling End is definitely not going to be the best of cards here. However, unless they have Censor in their hand, we get to land a turn 3 Gideon of the Trials, which is pretty great. Suppose I could lead on Heliod. They haven't played any hand disruption yet. They're not super likely to play 3-mana counter magic, although they could play something like Hero's Downfall. Seems like they F6 through that turn, so I wonder if they were just not planning on interacting in there. Oh, geez. Man, their hand is like all kinds of nothing. Alright, well, definitely jamming my Gideon now. They're still on 2 mana. I'm pretty sure they don't play anything that can stop this here. Yep, gain the Emblem, so Emblem is one of the better cards to be playing against the Inverter deck. It says as long as you control a Gideon Planeswalker, you can't lose the game. Your opponents can't win the game, which means that if they try to combo kill you, quote unquote, win the game with the combo with Inverter, they will not be able to do so. Alright. If I draw another white pip, I could have played it out and attacked with Heliod, but that's alright. So we're going to just get our Gideon in there, beat him up a little bit. Don't know what their hand could possibly consist of, that they're doing all sorts of nothing here. Definitely should have thrown lifelink on my Gideon there. That was a mistake not to do that. Would be able to give him +1/+1, so he'd be able to attack for 5 this turn, and then 6 the next turn, so definitely worth doing this turn. So becomes a creature. I don't know exactly what they're doing over there. They must have something to play at some point, right? But I don't know what they're holding that they're not doing anything here. All right, so connects, triggers. So I could have played the Arcanist Owl before combat and cracked in with Heliod as well. I didn't for no particular good reason. I'm playing really sloppy this game. Couldn't tell you why, other than the fact that my opponent is unnerving me with their amazing ability to not play a single relevant spell. I think it would be worth looking into how many hits this deck has for Arcanist Owl. I think it's missed every single time. No, it hit once. Did it hit twice? Maybe we've just been unlucky, but it would be worth looking at the number of hits. Fatal Push Revolted. Very nicely done. Okay, so even if we Arcanist Owled before combat, we would not have gotten punished for it there. But if we can turn on Heliod again this turn and they don't remove it, we are in great shape. So let's see if we can do that. We can. So we're going to start off with Thraben Inspector. Good old Threbs. I'm going to draw a card off my clue. Okay, Anafenza is better for turning on the Heliod than anything else. Gideon becomes a creature, and let's see if we just win the game here. It's fairly unlikely. They probably have another Fatal Push in hand. I'm guessing their hand is just Fatal Push rich. Yep, so Heliod gets turned off again. He can't turn himself on enough all the time, which is fine with me. So they're going to be able to cast Dig Through Time at this end of turn, which means they're likely to be able to find a Hero's Downfall. Unless they are on one of the newer lists that is playing very, very few versions of, very few copies of that. We do have 4 Karns and 4 Walking Ballistas in this deck right now. Sorry, 3 Walking Ballistas in this deck right now and 3 Karns. Either of which will very quickly put this game reasonably out of reach for the opponent. This deck is not quite as good with the 1-2 punch of Tormod's Crypt into God Pharaoh's statue at blocking out your Inverter opponent from winning the game, but still does have the Tormod's Crypt, which makes it awkward for them to combo, and I've got a 5/5 Gideon, so they need to kill the Gideon. Yeah. If I draw another Devotion Pip, I can also play Baffling End for no value, play the other Devotion Pip for no value. Although if they kill my Gideon, I can't. So we have 4 right now. We'll go down to 3, so if I draw a double Pip card, of which there are quite a number. Inverter. That's bold. Sure. They have the Hero's Downfall as well. Yeah. Shoot. Well, that's not great. So we have a reasonable number of outs here. Just got a top deck one. Anafenza is not not great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we only just have enough devotion. So if I'd put a single counter on my Heliod, he would be able to kill the inverter here. Not that it's particularly relevant. So swing with Heliod and Thraben Inspector, but I can't. So just swing with Heliod. He cannot give himself lifelink here, so. And it looks like they're going to pull this one out by the skin of their teeth, which is a little unfortunate, but we did have a bit of a rough draw. I mean, so did they. They didn't play anything forever, so. They've got Jace here. Yep, that's going to be the game win. So well played by the opponent, set themselves up for success, and they got there. So we're going to bring in Rest in Peace for sure. I don't think anything else needs to come in here. And we're definitely boarding up Baffling End. I think we'll have enough other removal that we're not likely to get crushed by Pack Rat. Tomik is probably worth keeping compared to Baffling End, I think. Unless there's something else that's more worth bringing in, which I don't believe that there is. So a bit of a rough go of it on that one. But that's okay. We had plenty of outs and just didn't draw any of them. Elspeth Conquers Death, an out that I did not mention. Definitely could have gotten us out of there. And even being able to Karn for Tormod's Crypt would have been great there. Alrighty. I'd like to play first. Yes, please. Again with the 1-landers. Jeez. 7-lander. Whoa. Alright. This is a reasonable mixture of things. So we're going to throw back a Thraben Inspector and maybe the Idyllic Grange? Yeah, I think so. So keep... Opponent kept 6, so we're behind by 2. Oof. Lord, I hate that. Alright. Sometimes the variance gets variable. On the plus side, compared to our previous opponent, this guy, this human is trucking through their game action, so even though they spent most of the last game not particularly doing much very quickly, not particularly doing much, they didn't do anything at a very reasonable pace. All the nothing they did was done very quickly. Dot Eraser. That's a damn shame. Oh, all right. Well, that's a pretty good pickup. Hopefully they don't have a follow-up piece of hand disruption here. Then we could draw a land and then jam this Karn and hit them with a Tormod's Crypt. Tap land. That's pretty nice for us to see. That's definitely something I would like to draw there. Rest in Peace. Well, that does save me from having to get Tormod's Crypt with Karn. So, are there other good... Doomblade. Sure. So are there good other things for me to grab post-Karn? So, do I have to worry about them inverting this turn? I do. They could definitely do that. So I think we just jam the Rest in Peace here. It's also going to shut off their dig through times, so which they were able to hit there. So hopefully we don't get a little bit punished here with my opponent just firing off a hand disruption spell, Thoughtseize or Thought Erasure. Jace, sure. So you've got a looter. My Karn can get Pithing Needle immediately. So probably going to hit that. Think so. Yes. Pithing Needle, or I don't need to go for Immortal Sun yet. So yeah, I think I just needle the Jace, and then we can Immortal Sun to shut down their Jace, Telepath, something, Wielder of Mysteries, that one. Additionally, I can put in Sky Sovereign this turn if I want a way to end the game at a reasonable pace. Arcanist Owl. All right. Yeah, that's a pretty good pickup. And then I think I just plus my Karn on nothing in particular. Yeah, that seems like a reasonable series of events. So we've got them pretty locked down here in terms of they will not easily be able to combo kill us. So, and then that gives me a pretty great amount of mana for next turn. So we can play Daxos next turn and then tap our Nykthos for 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have access to 8 mana next turn, which I believe is going to involve playing the Immortal Sun, which does turn off. Is it all Planeswalkers? It is, right? I believe so. Players can't activate Planeswalkers' loyalty abilities. Yep, but that's fine because we're going to be able to draw 2 cards per turn. Suppose. All right, what are you playing? I'm glad you're playing something. Yeah, okay, Jace. Perfect. So this is exactly what we wanted to see. So we're just going to slam the Immortal Sun and just sort of mess them up here. My Arcanist Owl will be able to swing in the air for a pretty good amount here. Nykthos. Yeah. Okay, I can make my wish before. Yes. I think I could just get Sky Sovereign here and then shoot Jace, attack Jace. And then that gives them another thing to deal with. And then on the turn where I am playing the Immortal Sun, I'm also getting rid of my Karn. Because then I'm not leaving him with free loyalty on him. So, yeah, let's do it that way. So we're going to play Daxos. Okay, then we tap for kind of goofy amount of white. Play Sky Sovereign. Shoot Jace. Bam. Then we attack Jace. And yeah. So while we are giving them time in this game, we're consistently adding to our board in a way that will... Yeah, okay, so they just scoop out. They realize they have no avenue to victory at that point. Would be interesting to see if the same thing happened if I got the Immortal Sun. So one of the things the Immortal Sun does, it does 4 things, which is kind of nutty to remember all of them, but you turn off all Planeswalkers. Not their static text, but their activated abilities. Then at the beginning of our draw step, beginning of my draw step, I will draw an extra card, so I'm drawing 2 cards per turn. It's going to be a free card draw. Spells I cast cost 1 less. That's not like the greatest payoff in this deck because of a lot of our cards. Like, we generate a lot of mana, and then a decent number of cards cost no generic mana, so we can't reduce them. But the final ability, creatures I control have +1/+1. That's not bad at all. So, yeah. And we're leaving in the Elspeth Conquers Death, even though we're playing Rest in Peace. Not 100% sure if that's correct. Definitely keeping this 7 on the draw. Double Ballista plus Heliod means we could combo quite quickly. We've even kind of got triple Ballista. Are we finally getting Thoughtseized here? We're not. So they've got an opt for sure. Hopefully we draw a second Plains here. Be the best draw on the deck pretty much. When I was playing the Mono G Karn deck this week, my opponent playing opt on turn 1 and opt on turn 2 was like the best thing that could happen while playing that deck. They just did nothing for so long, and you just killed them. You just killed them so dead. I had multiple inverter opponents who thought they would have time to opt and things like that, and The Mono Green Karn deck just kills you so fast. This one is less powerful in the short term, but definitely has the ability to combo kill in the mid to late game. So that's definitely a big edge in this format, just being able to go way over the top. So when we were playing against the Enchantress deck last round, the Mono Green Karn deck might have a little more difficulty in that matchup than this one does, because it doesn't have the ability to instantaneously kill your opponent at points in the game. All right, second Thraben Inspector. So I haven't missed, quote-unquote, my land drop yet. And because I have a Nykthos, I'm going to add to my white pips in play, rather than playing the Walking Ballista, which really doesn't do too much in this matchup. And then hopefully we draw a land on this next turn, or we'll be cracking a clue to try to draw one. Thoughtseize is fine. So they're hammering their life total a little bit. Probably losing the Karn here. Yep. Good choice by the opponent. Thassa's Oracle. Yep, stem the bleeding. So we definitely don't want to kill that anytime soon, if we can help it. It does let them set up their next draw a little bit. All right, let's draw planes. Do it, do it, do it. That's not planes. All right, crack a clue. There it is. Cool. Good draw, deck. Good draw. Yep. So they're going to take one here. We just want to keep on whatever pressure we can. Chase, sure. Okay. So Jace has a reasonable chance of being able to flip. I think what I want to do is attack with both my Thraben Inspectors, and if they go block, we're going to play a Walking Ballista and kill their Jace. They did not. Yep. Well played, opponent. They are aware that I have a Walking Ballista in my hand, so I'm going to put Tomik into play here. This brings my devotion up to 4, which means that this turn I will be able to, assuming nothing dies. Oh, they're looting right away. Okay, so they're looking for land drops here. So they did fine. They'll be able to flip the Jace next turn, although I can kill them before they do that. So, but that was a reasonable turn of events for our side of the field here. Although if they are able to dig through time, that would be not the greatest. So here's hoping that is not the case. We could draw a Rest in Peace or another Karn here. That would be pretty good as well. Obviously, Arcanist Owl is fine, but okay. Idyllic Grange is going to come into play tapped, so that is not helpful this turn. I think we're just jamming this Arcanist Owl, which does not feel the best, but that's where we're at. I do want to add to my mana for next turn, just in case. So play the Owl. See where we get with that. We've got a lot of mana accessible next turn. Stasis Snare or Daxos. So Stasis Snare only hits creatures, so it's not super great here, but we already have a Daxos, so we're definitely going to take the Snare. And then we get to attack for 3 pretty freely here. And then my opponent will get to dig through time pretty freely. Yep. Unless they're fatal pushing my Arcanist Owl. Can't imagine they needed to... Okay, that's dig. Yeah. So they're digging their entire yard. Oh, apparently they're not. Yeah. So we do have enough mana to combo kill them. Something weird happened. They wanted to dig through time, but then they didn't. I wonder if they're just planning on jamming an inverter here. and then just going for the win if they have a Jace or... Okay, so they're flipping their Jace Rinse Prodigy here. That makes sense. Then they can flashback Thoughtseize or Thought Erasure. Probably Thought Erasure because Thoughtseize at this point is going to put them pretty low. They know about the Stasis Snare. They know about the double Ballista, so not exactly sure where they're going to go with that. Maybe they're just going to plus the Jace on my Arcanist Owl to reduce the damage they're taking. That's a reasonable line. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8, 9 mana next turn. So I can play Walking Ballista X4. I'm currently attacking for getting through for 6, and then Ballista X4 would kill them. So depending on how they play this turn, they could die. Let us see how she goes. If I draw a land, I get to play Daxos, then Ballista X4 anyway, because Daxos adds 2 devotion pips, and then we use the Nykthos to generate the mana back. So it kind of has a 1 mana rebate, dig through time with 1 mana open. Okie dokie. So Revolt is currently on for them because the Jace exiled and then came back. So they're looking for land, probably land and or removal. If they want removal, it's got to be push, or they have to get the land and have something like Cast Down in hand. I don't know if they'd want Cast Down against this deck. I guess it's fine. They still have a Jace activation up. And they kept the Hero's Downfall in their yard. Yep, so Fatal Push to limit my mana makes sense. And then they're going to reduce the power on Tomik. Yeah, so now he can only attack for 1. So, well-played opponent. Definitely slowing us down. The Karn was a good pickup. So we've got 4, 5 mana this turn. I think I just have to get Tormod's Crypt to stop them from being able to Inverter. Flip side, we could Daxos, Stasis Snare, the Thassa's Oracle. They can't play Inverter and Oracle, or Inverter and Jace. But if they have another Oracle in their hands, then they're going to be able to win from that point. So I think I'm priced at this point into playing the Karn and turning off their graveyard. So get my Tormod's Crypt, which they have not seen yet, which was worth noting. And then I think we just attack them for 1 here. Put them to 9. Ever so slightly closer, creeping ever closer to death. So could get Pithing Needle next turn to stop this Jace from doing his thing. I'm not particularly worried about that. So we currently have their Inverter turned off. They can't cast it if they want to live. They are deciding whether or not to shock this Watery Grave. So this is Jace? Yeah, Jace, sure. So Gideon's a pretty good pickup. So I can Pithing Needle the Jace. Nykthos taps for 4 still, which doesn't actually help me too much. Pithing Needle on Jace seems pretty good. Pithing Needle on Jace plus Daxos and Gideon, or Daxos and Stasis Snare. I like Daxos and Stasis Snare. I don't need to play the Gideon yet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we Stasis Snare the Thassa's Oracle. Alright, so I can't do all of it. Could Glass Casket the Oracle, but that doesn't help me. So Snare and Daxos is probably the best, and just plus the Karn this turn. I don't need to get the Pithing Needle. Can attack the Jace for 2. But if they have Inverter, they're going to win on the spot. I have to stop this Jace from doing his thing, just in case they have the Inverter in hand. So got to get Pithing Needle. And Gideon is probably the other best play, I would think. And we just attack them to 8. Sure, let's do it that way. So I'm going to attack them first for 1. Cool. And then playing Gideon is going to add to my devotion, which is great. Oh, Gideon is effectively the same thing as playing the Pithing Needle if I get my emblem. So actually we can play Gideon and Daxos. Allows them to activate their Jace and draw a card, but I think that's okay. And this gives us a lot of mana to work with next turn. Yeah, I like this play. Okay. So get the emblem, play the Daxos, Karn plus on nothing. I don't need to kill my Clue or my Crypt. Good luck, opponent. You are cut off of a lot of angles. They target me with the mill, sure. So they don't want to affect the number of cards in their graveyard. That makes sense at this point. So at this point, you kind of want to think of how you could lose this game or what is the best possible draw for them. So they're filling up their graveyard right now. Dig through time costs them 4, so that's going to be basically their entire turn off. And they would be digging for Fatal Push again. I think if they minus the Jace, yeah, okay, so they're just plussing the Jace, but if they minus this Jace to target something in their yard, I would be very incentivized to just wipe out the yard with Tormod's Crypt. So we're in great shape here. Play this Plains. Gideon dies during combat, then I lose the Devotion pips, but once he animates, he's indestructible until end of turn, so I'm going to animate him. Then we're going to go attack. Okay, opponent just scooped out. So they couldn't deal with the insurmountable sort of semi-lock that we were placing around them. So Mono White Devotion deck already had reasonable tools for dealing with the Inverter deck with Gideon of the Trials and Rest in Peace. And adding Karn gives you even more just sort of diversity of options in ways that you can cut down on what the Inverter deck is trying to do. So even though the Inverter deck is one of the more popular decks in the meta, it's sort of the big bad boogeyman. Oh, we're against QB Turtle again. This is one of the trophy leaders, usually. So, yeah, there he is. There they are, sorry. There they are with 15. Sorry, not 15. QB 15 with 6. So they're on the play. They kept a 7. I think I'm going to keep this one. They were playing in Soul last time. Blue-red in Soul Artifact. So I wonder if we're on the same thing. Looks like they are. So Thraben Inspector is an okay start here, although they are coming out of the gates quick. So might be in trouble here on the draw. Although if we pick up a Baffling End or Stasis Snare within the early period of the game, we could be in good shape. So let's see what's up. I wonder if they have the Ensoul right away. They do, so they're cracking in for 5 in the air. We'll take it. Getting pretty beat up here. So definitely want to fire off this clue this turn. Hopefully they don't have a second Ensoul. That would be real bad. Make their Ginger Brute into a 5/5 as well. Okay. So going to 9. Post-combat land. Stonecoil X3. Yep. So it looks like I might be chump blocking something. Gideon also would be an okay pickup. Daxos, less than great. So if they have a Shrapnel Blast, we're just dead. But we're going to play Daxos into Thraben Inspector here. Yet another game of Pioneer and Magic in general that is definitely heavily factored on the play draw. We are in big trouble. On the play, we would have been in considerably less trouble here. I don't think we would have missed a land drop. Ghost Fire, sure. So they can equip this to Stone Coil, yeah. And then this means that, oh boy, Ginger Brute can't be blocked, sure. So we're going down to a minuscule amount of life at this point. So we're definitely taking 5, 6. So we have to block 3 on the Stone Coil. I think I'll just throw my Daxos in front of it. We gain 1 off of the trigger when he dies. So we're going to 4, I believe. Then I think we're toast. Yeah. So combo in hand, too little, too late. Yeah. GG, go game 2. Game 2 on the play. So QB Turtle just crushing us very quickly with a great hand from the Is It Ensoul deck. So, Rest in Peace, not particularly good in this matchup. Gideon's Intervention, not particularly good in this matchup. I mean, technically you could use it, but I think I am going to bring it in instead of 1 Elspeth Conquers Death. So there's only 1 of this in the deck, and I think Gideon's Intervention is better because it could get you a 2-for-1, whereas Elspeth Conquers Death is actually very poor at killing anything in their deck. Almost all of it has CMC 1 or 0, so I cannot see that being a very good. Huh. Well, learning something about the illustrious QB Turtle. And then we could play the Gideon's Intervention here. I wonder if there's anything else worth to play the other Gideon's Intervention. I don't think so. I think Knight of the White Orchid is, even on the play, if I have to play it as a 2-mana 2/2 first strike, it's kind of better. So let's try this. Would I like to play first? Yes, please. Would I like to keep this hand? Oof. It's a little oof. Don't think I can keep this hand in this matchup. It's just a little slow and fair. Karn on 4 is like less than great against them. This deck or this hand really needs to draw like a whole bunch of stuff. That hand is awful. Oof. All right, so I should have kept the 7 maybe? Question mark. This is okay. Double tap land, which is god awful, but we do have a Stasis Snare, so could be all right. I gotta tuck one of these. I guess Tomik has extra toughness here, but woof. It's a tough one. So we're going to sequence with Idyllic Grange first, because it is in fact a plains, which means Castle Ardenvale will be able to come into play untapped. So I was incorrect. We do not have double tap land here. But still definitely need to draw something. Opponent took no mulligans? Did they? Yeah, they just kept their 7, so... Behind by 3 cards is real rough. Them's the breaks sometimes, though. And we do have the Stasis Snare, so very likely to get a 2-for-1 off of it. We have a blocker for their Bomat Courier, so that's great. Yep, there's the Insole. I'm going to take 5 here. We do get to Stasis Snare that off the board, though, so that's not too bad. If I play Knight, I don't get a land yet anyway, so just going to fire this off. So need to draw some hot fire here, but deck is definitely capable of pulling us out of this situation, so let us see if it does. Let us see if it does. Steel Overseer. Yeah, that's pretty good here. Bomat Courier. Also good. Would love to draw a land and a Walking Ballista. Just a land. Not great. I think we just play the land, play out both knights. Gives us a pretty impressive ground force. I'm going to take a free shot in the air here. Oh boy, 4 mana. 3 mana, 4 mana. 4/4 Stone Coil. Okay, well that's not too bad. I mean, it's bad, but... so we have hit 5 mana, so our Castle Ardenvale is now able to produce 1/1 humans. And we are able to double block a Bomat Courier to kill it. So, oh my god, that is so big. Is it 11/11? Jesus. Alright, well... I think we're taking 11 here and hoping to draw a piece of removal for that. I don't think that playing around the Shrapnel Blast does us much good here. That's going to kill us next turn no matter what, so yeah. Alright, well, QB Turtles just putting us out of our misery in 3 minutes off their clock. Just... very, very powerful aggressive starts from the Insole deck in both games. Took us out of there right quick. Definitely an advantage of people who are both not streaming and playing decks that can win matches at that pace is that they are in the trophy race. Although Aspiring Spike is way up there at 9 trophies playing... the Mono Green Devotion deck, which usually takes a little bit longer than that, just a lot of game actions, and then but then a bevy of mid-range and control decks, so play what you love. That's the most important thing. And if what you love is to win lots of games as quickly as possible, then playing these powerful aggressive decks is definitely something to do. Won the die roll, let's get to it. This is a great hand. I'm going to keep that. Not perfect, because we're going to be on turn 2 tap land, or turn 1 tap land. I think I'd rather turn 2 tap land. Would I? Yeah, because then I can play Knight on 3. No, because we're always ahead on land. Just get the Thraben Inspector down, then I can play the Nykthos and crack the clue on turn 2. When you're on the play, though, there's no way to... Mausoleum Wanderer. Okay, so... one of my nemesis. Spirits. Them leading with Island is kind of good for us, though. Because it means that they are not going to have the most solid mana right away. Definitely want to crack this clue. We're looking for an untapped white source, because if I get an untapped white source, then I can... What are you? Oh, they want to attack for 2. Sure. If I get an untapped white source, then I can Stasis Snare their Rattle Chains, or I could hold it to try to grab a Lord, like an Empyrean Eagle. Play double Island. Might be worth holding it up. Well, we'll see what we draw here. Okay. Another Karn. Definitely want to add to my devotion pips because I have this Nykthos in play. So let's just snare the Rattle Chains, get that out of there. So no free instant spirits. So Rattle Chains Rattle Chains is a split card of annoying and more annoying. It's a 1 and a blue for an instant, or a flash 2/1. And when it comes into play, they give one of their creatures hexproof until end of turn, which means that if you were previously trying to kill it, it will not die. And then on top of that, it lets all of your other spirits be played with flash. So very, very good. Good little card. Not the best pickup there. So I can play Thraben Inspector, spend my turn cracking the clue. But then next turn I can, they did reveal a land, so they have a land in hand. So I can spend next turn cracking the clue, and then we play Knight of the White Orchid without playing a land first, get a plains, play the Idyllic Grange, which comes into play on tap. Then I can activate my Nykthos. So either way, I don't want to... What am I saying? I don't want to play a land this turn. So we're just going to play Thraben Inspector and sit. They're not killing us too quickly yet, although if they play a second Lord, we're in trouble quickly. Which is always the way those decks go. Although they're not playing the Bant version, it looks like, so they don't have the ability to play Collected Company and really ruckus us. Although they are very likely to have Spell Queller, so hopefully we don't just get quelled out of this game, which seems to be the way it usually goes with me. So we're going to play Knight of the White Orchid here. It's likely going to get Spell Queller. Then we get cracked for 8 next turn, or possibly lethal if they have another Lord. Yep. So Spirit opponent, always going to have your Spell Queller. You can never avoid it. I did not mean to do that, but that's okay. Just play a Plains. And we're in big trouble here. Spirit's deck is very, very difficult to beat as a sort of fair-ish deck. The combo gives us sort of one of the only semi-outs we could have here, so we're going to get hit for 8 now. And they could have another Spell Queller as backup, so definitely in trouble on this one. Oh boy. Another Lord? Yeah. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're just dead. Got it. So the Spirits deck, even while losing a creature and playing a creature that was both also Disruption, was able to kill us very quickly there. Glare of Heresy could be okay here. I don't think Gideon's Intervention is particularly useful. Glasket and Cataclysmic Gearhulk will be fine if we get to them. So we're on the play. So I'm going to cut one Knight of the White Orchid, and Elspeth Conquers Death being at 5 means it can exile something, and they can't Spell Queller it. It's mostly most of the interaction they have is that card. I think Gideon the Trials is probably not particularly great here because they can just attack it down. That was definitely one of the problems with the Mono G Karn deck against the Spirits deck, is that they just they just attack all your planeswalkers down. So you really have to overpower them, or they are just able to eat you alive. Definitely keeping this hand. It's a little slow, but very consistent. Opponent on a 7, so let's do it. Come on, little Thraben Inspectors. You inspect me to victory. They did not have a second land for Port Town. That's extremely suspect. I don't believe that for a second. I'm going to play Tomik. Nice little 2-3 in the air. 2 Devotion Pips is definitely fine. Our next turn is going to be kind of nice. We can just crack a clue. Play a Thraben Inspector and crack one of the clues that we have. Okay, so they could have Rattle Chains here. So we're just going to attack with Tomik. Not attacking with my Thraben Inspector, which would get chump block there. I mean, I guess them trading Rattle Chains for Thraben Inspector is fine for me. So I probably should have swung, but I'm going to prioritize keeping my Devotion Pips in play for now. And the next turn they're going to have, there's the Rattle Chains, they're going to have the ability to play an Instant Speed Lord or a Spell Queller. And this is the situation that's just so brutal against Spirits. You know, 6 cards in hand. They just have so many options here. We have one last business spell for the moment, although I'm going to get to crack a clue and then draw a card for turn, so potentially more. They choose to play Empyrean Eagle and go on the offensive. What does that mean? That's incredibly aggressive. Christopher Walking Ballista, eh? So I can play Karn here and then be safe. I think we go attack with Tomik. If they block with the Eagle, I get to play Ballista on 2 and ping it. Okay, so maybe they goofed there. I think so. Pocket Sand, baby. Dude, get out of here. Get off my board. And then I also do have the ability to take the last counter off the Walking Ballista and kill their Rattle Chains. I guess I probably should have done that there and just left them with nothing. But I do like the threat of having Walking Ballista in play. It means they have to be wary of Heliod at all times. Okay. So they have a Mutavault hanging out in the back row there. So I think we're just going to pass the turn. And the Mutavault can't fly. It's going to be Nebelgast Herald. It is. Okay. I'm going to tap Tomik. Sure. That's fine. So I think we're putting a counter on Ballista. I should have put the counters on, killed both their things, and cracked in for 2, I think. But I'm not going to worry about it now. So killing the Rattle Chains means they can't play Lords at instant speed. Mausoleum Wander's fine. That's going to tap one of my creatures, but that doesn't matter. Yep. Okay, so now they can't play Lords at instant speed. Do still have the ability to play a Rattle Chains and diffuse my ping with Ballista. Selfless Spirit. Okay, so once that's in play, no, that's fine. So this is going to tap one of my creatures, and then they can boot up their Mutavault and attack. So they could attack for a total of 6 this turn. Then I just crank my Walking Ballista next turn, kill the Selfless Spirit on my turn, and then I can still kill one of their creatures on their turn. So second Selfless Spirit. Yeah, that's pretty good. So taking less damage this turn than if they swung in with Mutavault, but definitely getting some good stuff going on, opponent. Well done so far. All right. So Nykthos would be an okay draw. Idyllic Grange, great draw. So this is a free +1/+1 counter on my Walking Ballista. So this is going to be... So I want to think about how I activate this. So if I ping a Selfless Spirit, they can respond by sacking it to give all their creatures indestructible. And then I could ping it again. So I can put them on no creatures here, basically. So we're going to ping... I have a backup Ballista with this Karn, so we're going to ping Selfless Spirit. They sack it to give their creatures indestructible. I'm going to ping Nebelgast Herald. They're going to let that one happen. Okay, so I'm just going to keep my Ballista. Yep. Oh, wait. And then I can attack here. I don't want to. And we just go over to them. So if they play a Lord, I can ping their Selfless Spirit. So we're in a pretty great spot here, and we also get to crack our clue this turn. So clues give you the opportunity to be fairly mana efficient. Now their Nebelgast Heralds is off the battlefield as well. We have a 2/3 flying blocker, so Tomik, yeah, putting in work there. Good job, Ballista. So a lot of the time, these games come down to Walking Ballista just sort of housing them. And I almost wonder if there are matchups in which you're just supposed to board out the Karns in favor of other things. Karn has like no ability to affect the battlefield. Not having access to... I think I'd bring in basically this. And Karn's not very good against their deck at all, whereas these cards are at least reasonable. Yeah, let's try it this way. I think that might be okay. Glass Casket is better probably than Gideon. Gideon can be attacked down. Right, let's try it this way. Feels strange, but I think it might be correct. This is a pretty great hand against that deck. So they kept their 7. They have kept some weak 7s in this match. They have no turn 1 play. That's pretty good for us. And Baffling End on 2 is great. So we're going to be able to play Baffling End on 2. If they have a 3rd land drop, we play Knight of the White Orchid on 3, or Heliod. Then play Knight on 4 and ramp. Sweet. So we're going to eat that Phantom. One of the things against the Spirit decks you have to do is just keep them off critical mass of creatures and lords, which is the role at which Walking Ballista excels, as that last game demonstrated. One of my matches that I lost over the weekend against Spirits, I was literally 1 mana off of being able to crank my Walking Ballista 4 times and be able to sort of wipe their board. That's the kind of narrow margin that Spirits usually puts you on. All right. I think this is an okay spot to play Gideon of the Trials and then just plus it on the Selfless Spirit. Hopefully they have a 4th land so that I can play Knight next turn and then ramp plus play a land and play Heliod. So let's do that. Gideon does, like, Gideon's not great in this matchup, but he does give them the problem of, like, some of their creatures just not being able to do any damage, which is a reasonable thing. I guess I could have attacked in for 1 there. Oh, they had a Spectral Sailor. Okay. So they're going to get to hit my Gideon for 1 here if they want to. Yep. And they choose to do that. Looks like they didn't have a land, so not playing Knight of the White Orchid last turn is going to get a little bit punished here, but it's fine. I think I play a Knight of the White Orchid first, they'll spell quell it, then I get to plus Gideon on their queller. Yeah, of course. I also have the option of using this moment to sneak Walking Ballista into play. That's probably the right thing to do. And I can crank it next turn. If they play a Lord, do I have to immediately fire it off? And so prevent the damage from Queller, play Walking Ballista. And I don't know if I'm supposed to kill their Selfless Spirit here. If they have a Rattle Chains in hand, I definitely should. Also means my Gideon is the most likely to survive. Although, no, yeah, even a Lord. No, a Lord would not do it. So I think takes my Walking Ballista off the battlefield though, which I really want to keep because I have the Heliod in hand. So if they have a Lord, they get to attack it for, for 5. Although with the Lord on the stack, I can kill the Spirit. So yeah, let's see what they do. If they go land, animate, Mutavault, attack Gideon. That's like the worst one. Okay, so it is a Lord. This definitely sucks, but I think I'm going to keep my Gideon alive by killing their Selfless Spirit now. Also means that they won't be able to... Yeah, and then I'm going to have an active Heliod next turn, so... Not the end of the world. They're attacking the Gideon, sure. Gideon's definitely not long for this world, so as I mentioned, he's not great in this matchup, but... Definitely going to keep him around. Okay, so I get to play Knight and Heliod this turn. Is that the best we can do? If I play Heliod, attack with Thraben Inspector, it just gets blocked and killed. I suppose playing Heliod and just cracking a clue might be better. Yeah, adding Knight to this board is not very good. It doesn't rate me at all, so cracking this clue is better. Although Gideon's about to die, so I'm going to be down to 1, 2, 3 devotion pips, so I do want to keep this Heliod in play. And then being able to attack the Knight of the White Orchid next turn is valuable, so... And then having it on defense is also good. So playing the Knight out here for the devotion pips, basically. So see if that is relevant against opponent LZ. Maybe Lizzie. Yeah. Oh, down goes Gideon. As in War of the Spark, as in this game. I'm going to crack this clue proactively. Well, that's a draw. I wonder if they're playing Seal Away out of the sideboard. So they don't have a Rattle Chains in play right now. If I attack with Knight of the White Orchid, it just gets eaten, gobbled up by Spell Queller, so not super worth doing here. I have exactly 5 devotion pips, so I think we pass the turn. So we take 7, assuming that they don't play anything. Okay, so we're going to take 7. They didn't draw a card with Spectral Sailor. Were they tapped down at all? So we take 7, then we can play Walking Ballista X3. Or X2 and try to combo, but I'm sure they have something going on. Not really sure the best way to do this turn. I think it's play Ballista on X3. I don't need my Heliod to be a creature. I just need it not to be exiled. So what I'm playing around here is Seal Away, which I think is reasonable. I think we attack with Knight of the White Orchid, see if they have a spirit or something to gobble it up. They don't. So they hit me for 7. If they have another creature plus a... I think we're pretty priced into just trying to ballista them out here. Are we? Is that true? If I play my ballista on X3... Yeah. This can't be quelled, which is a big deal. God damn it. Disdainful Stroke. Mystical Dispute. Gross. Nope. Okay. That's a tough one. That's a weird squeeze, because they have me in a situation where it's like really bad for me to try to play it for less than X equals 2 because of Disdainful Stroke, and then they get to counter it because I can't pay. So hopefully we can make some life gain happen here. Extra mana definitely helps. Let's see if they also have a Seal Away or something. They can't go shields down. At least not fully. Settle me. Wow. And then I don't even get to gain any life here? Wow, that's brutal. Yep. Jeez. Whew. Well, here's a blocker. I get to go Baffling End on their Empyrean Eagle. Is that? Yeah, Empyrean Eagle, and their attacks are a lot worse. I guess that's not bad. Yeah, Knight of the White Orchid doesn't do anything for me here. So, and then I have a 3/3 blocker, so hopefully that deters their Spellcaller from attacking now. Unless they have another Lord. It was a shame not to be able to take Arcanist Owl there, but definitely correct. Spectral Sailor is going to be a beast here. Going to leave the card in hand. Single land, if I draw another land next turn, I don't think that I'm going to be particularly punished by that, but Spectral Sailor is just about to start running away with this game, which is tough. Yep. They also drew a Rattle Chains? Gross. So if they have a Lord here, I think they could just attack around and kill me. So, no, they'll help me for 5. Yeah. Oh, or they could just tap my last creature and kill me. Cool. So, good game, opponent. Spirit's getting me good, as always. So, 2 tough losses to Blue, Red, and Soul and Blue, White Spirits. Let's go from 2-0 to 2-2. So, we are on the burrito bubble. Need to get that win. Karn definitely helped this deck against the Inverter deck, but that was already a pretty reasonable matchup. I think Sultai was also a reasonable matchup, so I don't know about Karn in this deck. It doesn't really feel like this takes advantage of him in as strong of a way as the Mono Green deck does. Or maybe just the way this deck is put together is not quite what it needs to be. Definitely mulliganing this in the blind. That was just a little too slow. We'll keep this. We'll bottom an Arcanist Owl. We have our combo and a Thraben Inspector. So planes and nothing, you say? I have suspicion. Knight is not a bad pickup at all. So we can play Inspector on 1, Crack Clue on 2, Knight on 3, and ramp. Anafenza. Alright, looks like a mirror match. But they probably don't have the Karn technology, so might have a little edge here. If I play Walking Ballista this turn, it does not give me any extra velocity towards comboing, so we're just going to hang out. Yeah. With my good friend Thraben Inspector. Hopefully they don't have like the quickest combo, which is turn 4 with Anafenza into Heliod into Ballista. If they do, we need to draw Baffling End or otherwise. They do not. Cool. Probably have Stasis Snare up, so worth looking out for. Grange can help us combo a turn earlier, so we're going to play Knight of the White Orchid here, which will ramp us. Get us a planes. We play the other planes. Yeah. Let me play Tomik. So the planes. Play planes. Tomik. And then attack for 1. And then we cannot quite combo next turn. Kind of close, but not close enough. Unfortunately, because we have enough devotion pips, if they have a Stasis Snare, they can take our Heliod off the battlefield at instant speed, so hoping they tap down for something here, maybe Ballista X2. Although Ballista X1 is the same size for them. No, Ballista X2 is a 3/3, so that'll be really good here. Nykthos. Gideon's Intervention. Alright, so they're going to call Walking Ballista here, I believe. They're playing main decked Intervention. That's crazy talk. Yep. Good call. But we're going to be able to play Heliod here and kind of start messing them up in terms of a fair mid-range game plan. So, or do I play Owl? Owl does give me an awful lot of mana. I think we play Heliod. Give 2 creatures lifelink. Yeah, that's probably the best play here. Tomik lifelink. Give Knight lifelink. Crack in for a bunch. Oh, they're on 4. They have 1, 2, 3. So 4, 5. And then they can get. That's first strike. Oh, I should have put that on Tomik, and then I would get an extra point of damage. All right, screw up my sequencing there because I was trying to count out their mana and see if I was dead this turn. So without without Heliod or Ballista in play, you need 9 mana. Anafenza makes that 7 mana. I think they're 1 short. It's 4, 5, and if they play another land, 6. Yeah, so they're 1 short of being able to combo kill me here. So on our turn, we can activate Nykthos for 6, and then play Arcanist Owl. Can't play this Ballista, but we're looking for Stasis Snare or Baffling End to clear the way and try to get this game mid-ranged out. Yeah, so there's the 4 off of Nykthos. They play Stasis Snare. Sure, they're going to take my Heliod out. Makes sense. Now they're up to 6 devotion pips, so next turn they definitely have all the mana they need to combo us out. Okay. But if we're able to remove this Anafenza, then They go down to 4 devotion pips. They're going to have Daxos or a Walking Ballista on 1. Sure. It's Walking Ballista on 2. Yeah, that makes sense. Their Walking Ballista is unaffected by the Gideon's intervention. Karn would be a great draw here. Karn. Plains is like a Karn. Okay, so yeah, need to activate this first, so don't need to play the Grange. Play Arcanist Owl. Let's see what we get. Not Ballista. Second Owl. That's not helpful. Alright, so good chance we just die here. We did the best we could. Oh. But they had main decked Gideon's intervention. That's some gross technology. Alright, let's see if they got it. They have tons and tons and tons of resources here, so I suppose we could have Stasis Snare, so if they play Heliod, we play Snare in response to remove their Ballista, which means we definitely do not die, but I don't have it, so we'll just scoop out of this one if they have it. Owl, okay. I definitely don't have it right away. They get to bolster their Ballista if they want to. They get a Heliod there. They don't have enough mana to win this turn. They can put the Heliod into play, but they can't. They can't give their Ballista lifelink. Interesting. Alright, we got a second lease of life here. They do get to make their Ballista 4/4, which means they can wipe out our creatures and our mana a little bit, but if we draw Baffling End or otherwise off of our Owl, we could be in good shape here, so. Alrighty. What do you got, opponent? Tanking hard, trying to kill me. What do you got? Give me the bat. Give me the bat. Heliod, sure. I'm not dead yet. Opponent really struggling with their bolster target. Suppose they are in danger of getting aggroed out. But they have a Ballista, because they don't want to toss their Ballista away and killing my Arcanist Owl. Alright, I'll be back in a second. Definitely should have had all that beer and coffee and watermelon. Alright, so they choose to bolster their Anafenza? Oh no, it doesn't target. Sure. They pinged my owl. Sure. And they're gonna put another counter on the ballista and then ping my owl again. That's fine. So they're reducing my devotion pips in play next turn. I wasn't gonna be able to combo kill them back anyway. If I draw Stasis Snare, I don't get to kill in the air, but Thraben Inspector, so that's not great. It doesn't affect my mana total at all, so play the Inspector. I get 1 mana rebate on activating Nykthos, which I was going to do anyway. Then we activate Nykthos. Yeah. 6, play Owl, and hopefully we hit a Stasis Snare or Baffling End. That's what it's got to be. Nothing. Literal nothing. Alright. So I can't play my Walking Ballista. I can crack my Clue. So, one more draw. It's going to be Karn, which is too late. No, another Arcanist cell. Okay, so I can attack for 4 in the air and then die. Cool. Well played, opponent. This Walking Ballista was stuck in my hand all game, and just some unlucky Arcanist owls mean we do not get there. So, Glare of Heresy, yes, okay. Definitely want that in this matchup, and then Gideon's Intervention, so definitely hit the matchup for Glare. So, opponent is definitely not playing an aggressive deck. I think Baffling End is still worth keeping here. But I do need 4 cuts, so Elspeth Conquers Death is fine. Maybe, okay, so 1 owl, 2 Knight of the White Orchid, and a Gideon. Gideon's not particularly good in this matchup. I think that'll be fine. Yeah. Alright. So hope our interaction is relevant here. Karn definitely not showing himself off so powerfully in this shell as much as the mono green one. So I do like the mono white devotion Walking Ballista Heliod combo deck, but I don't know if Karn is a super great addition to it. Alright. Although we have had a pretty rough streak of luck here. It's been a lot of mulligans to 5 and 6 in this league. If I had to bottom something here, it's probably the Karn, right? It's Karn or the Owl for sure. So Karn gets Pithing Needle, but Pithing Needle is symmetrical, so Pithing Needle will turn off my Walking Ballistas as well as theirs, or my Heliod as well as theirs, so it's not the best. I'm definitely keeping this hand, I just don't know which one I'm bottoming. Karn does get me a Ballista, or land, or Sky Sovereign. Sky Sovereign definitely is a beast in the sort of mid-range war that this can become. So, I think we bottom the Owl. Feels medium, man. Feels medium. Hopefully we get a little bit lucky and our opponent goes to 5. Could happen. Not that I'm wishing for that, but like we've had a pretty rough streak of luck here, so. Alright. Inspector go. Doop a doop a doop. Doop a doop a doop beep beep. Alright, no turn 1 play. That's not bad for us. I think we're going to drop our Anafenza right away. Land pickup is great because that means Karn is coming down on time. The K-Daddy. And we can just use our mana next turn to crack the clue, so we're not going to lose a lot of tempo, at least in terms of mana we could spend. Glare of Heresy, my Anafenza. That's... yeah. Alright. Just not messing around at all there, huh? Alright. Let's hope we get to draw something useful here. Karn turning off their Walking Ballistas is pretty good. Oh, Knight on the draw is so good. Really nice sequence from our opponents so far. Very well played. Good. No follow-up is great, though. Thraben Inspector is not the best draw, but I'll take it. Okay, so we got a jam Karn here, and then Thraben Inspector goes under the bus against their Knight. Karn definitely gets me Sky Sovereign, I believe, just in case he dies. Because there isn't much else in our sideboard that's particularly useful in this matchup, other than maybe Glass Casket. But I would rather have the Sky Sovereign right away. Looks like our opponent's F6 through their turn, so they're not planning on doing anything here. Can also play Sky Sovereign into Immortal Sun, which would be pretty nuts. Be incredibly powerful. If we can keep our Karn alive, we'll be sitting pretty. Engine Black Eggs. Ballista on 2, shooting down Thraben Inspector, and then they crack it. No, that doesn't really do them much good. Just trying to think of different potential cards I could have in hand. Obviously, Heliod and Ballista are quite powerful. Gideon's Intervention is a threat again. Gideon's Intervention taking my Sky Sovereign out of the game would be more than a little frustrating at this point. Arcanist, that's fine. So we're going to get to play Sky Sovereign, shoot down the Owl. Gideon's Intervention. So they hit the Intervention a turn late. Oh, shoot. Alright, so the Owl is now a 4/4. We do get to wish for the Immortal Sun, though. So... I think I should still play out the Sky Sovereign, snipe their Knight of the White Orchid, and then use Karn to get something else. Or I could get Glass Casket, exile their Knight, play Stasis Snare, exile their Arcanist Owl, and then they're using the Gideon's Intervention on Sky Sovereign, spend all their mana to do that, and they don't have much left. I think that's also a reasonable choice. It does get blown out by them having another Glare of Heresy, but I think that's okay. Yeah, let's try it this way because it's going to choke what they're able to do for the next turn. So... oh, I put an Arcanist Owl on my sideboard. That's kind of funny. So I could get that. I don't want to because their Owl is bigger than mine right now. Do I just want to get Immortal Sun and jam that in? No, I think Glasket. So if I play Sky Sovereign, they're still pretty incentivized to attack down my Karn and play the Gideon's Intervention on it, even though I don't actually have a creature that can currently crew it. Shoot. What do we do here? I think this is the more powerful line. So we get the Immortal Sun. I could play Thraben Inspector to block on the ground and Stasis Snare to remove the Arcanist Owl in the air. I think that's okay. So this is another option that I wasn't quite seeing before. We'll see how they try to go about this turn. Most clever thing for them to do with the play I'm about to make would be if they have a Stasis Snare in hand. If they can snare my snare in response to its trigger, it means the Arcanist Owl will never leave the battlefield, and then they won't lose it attacking. So see what happens. We've got our line. We're sticking to it, and we will see if we get paid off here. I don't mind forcing them to put more resources into trying to deal with what's going to happen here. So do the Gideon's intervention my Sky Sovereign? That's the question here. Jeez, alright. Well, yep, they had the second glare. That's brutal. And now they get to glare and to hit my Sky Sovereign as well. So I mentioned that we could get blown out that way. We did. So bad news for us. We do get to jam the Immortal Sun next turn, which is like maybe good. They picked up a Stasis Snare though, which is like, yeah, sure. So I probably should have just dumped the Sky Sovereign into play, picked off their Knight, let the Owl kill my Karn. Yeah, they wouldn't have gotten another trigger there. Glare wouldn't have done anything for them. Names the Immortal Sun. Interesting. That's interesting. Alright, I don't... They have Stasis Snare for my Sky Sovereign now, so I guess that made sense. So to play Sky Sovereign, nuke down their Owl, which is great. Then I get to plus Karn, make my Sky Sovereign a 5/5, pass the turn back. Yeah, that was a really clever play, I guess. But now they're going to be able to snare my Sky Sovereign, and then I wonder if I shouldn't have animated Sky Sovereign here. Maybe I shouldn't have. I definitely didn't need to. Yeah, that may have been a mistake. I think it was. And now I lose my Karn that was turning off their Walking Ballistas, which could end up being bad very quickly. We have no removal for this as well, as far as I can think. Land is not great. So, crack a clue. Let's see where this gets us. Another Karn is not the worst thing in the world. I'm going to play Daxos first here. Karn can get me a Walking Ballista next turn, so if we draw another land, that'd be great. Or Cataclysmic Gearhulk, which puts them down to 1 enchantment, which means we get either our Sky Sovereign or our ability to cast Immortal Sun back, which is not bad. Actually, yeah, Gearhulk is going to be possibly very good. We shall see. We shall see. Take the hit. If I draw a land, I get to go Karn, Ballista 2, or Glass Casket to remove the Knight. So probably worth keeping. Oh, that's a great pickup. So this gets me my Sky Sovereign back, and then Karn can boot it up this turn. So let's see if we can resolve this first. Cool. Sky Sovereign comes into play. I get to nuke one thing. Gadoosh. Now I can't attack with it necessarily. I don't want to boot it up into a creature again. I think that was a mistake last time. In terms of what I can wish for here, Darksteel Citadel's not really great. I think we wish for Cataclysmic Gearhulk. So he's going to go down to 2. Which means I kind of want to get the best thing I can, which I think is Walking Ballista. So let's just get the Walking Ballista. This opens us up to being able to combo next turn too. Like, with relative impunity, let's say. So they can make another human. If they have an Idyllic Grange, they can put a +1/+1 counter on a human, so they'll have 3 power. If they can also remove my Daxos, they get to attack down Karn. But then I have a Walking Ballista on X3 or 4. So, and they still have to worry about Sky Sovereign. So, definitely squeezing them a bit here. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's win this game. Karn putting in some good work here, and I don't even know how much of the game he's been shutting off a Ballista in their hands, but I assume some percentage. Or at some point they're going to draw one and then not be thrilled. Knight. Knight is fine. So I have 7. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so no search. Super. Do add devotion pips though, so they get a rebate of 1 there, so they can still activate for a human. They still have 2 cards. Heliod's not a problem here. So there's a good chunk of their deck that's not particularly frightening in this situation. And we have this Walking Ballista in hand, and we have the ability to go get some other very impressive things. If I go get a Cataclysmic Gearhulk and play it, I lose literally 0 permanents. Although they only lose their human tokens, so that's not too bad for them yet, but we will see. If they add to the board, go a little wider, then we get to blow them up. Glare of Heresy on my Daxos. Well, that's pretty good, but not the end of the world. Okay, so they're not able to plus their humans at all, so we're going to be able to Karn on Sky Sovereign. Yep. So we're in good shape here. Replacement Daxos, not bad. So boot up Sky Sovereign. If their last card is literal Stasis Snare, we get a little messed up, but we'll still be okay. Swing, trigger, kill the knight. Excellent. And then post-combat, we'll just Ballista X3. So if they make another human, which they can't, because they lost their, all right. So they can't make a human right now, which is great. So we'll just Ballista X3. Should be pretty close to game here, which is awesome. So Karn putting in work on the mirror match. Turns out they can't activate that. They think they can, but they let their knight die, so they don't have enough devotion. Owl. Yeah, Owl's something. Gives them a bunch of devotion pips, so that's a pretty good draw. Let's see what they pick up. Hopefully they whiffed, because I whiffed a lot. Maybe they get a second Owl. That'd be pretty good here. Not great, but pretty good. Maybe a concession Owl if it misses. I think they have options. Hopping in the tank. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Stasis Snare. That's not bad. So they can get rid of either my Ballista or my Sky Sovereign. I think they're actually in a bit of a squeeze on which one they want to do. They don't play it. I think that's gotta be a mistake, but okay. Okay, so planes, so I can crank my ballista now. I think I Karn plus on the Sky Sovereign no matter what. This means their owl would be able to, yeah, okay. Okay, so we go to combat. They have to Stasis Snare it before it attacks, otherwise it blows up their owl and puts them in really bad shape. Yep. So snare. Yep. So they snare my Sky Sovereign, that's fine. I'm going to play Daxos, crank my Ballista. And then I can block their humans, so that's fine. And reducing their devotion is still a good choice. It just limits what they're going to be able to do on their next turn. Okay, so yeah, can't make another human, so they get attacked with both humans, put Karn down to 1, they lose one of their human tokens. And again, Cataclysmic Gearhulk starting to look really tasty here. Gideon ally of Zendikar, that's a card. Okay, so if they Glorious Anthem here, I guess that's the best thing they can do. They make a knight, cool. So I can Pithing Needle that this turn if I need to. It's not the best play, but it is a play. Let's see what we pick up. Alright, Idyllic Grange. So that's a good draw. Target the Ballista. So if I get Gearhulk and cast it, I lose Gearhulk, keep my Ballista. They go down to 1 creature, they keep Gideon, they lose one of these enchantments, which is pretty bad for them. So it's that, or we get Pithing Needle for Gideon allies and a card this turn, which is not exciting. But I do get to crank Ballista twice and kind of wipe out the rest of their board, so I guess it's pretty good. It's not really progressing the game overly quickly. The other option is get something like Arcanist Owl and hope I hit something good out of the deck. I could hit Heliod and win the spot, but I don't know how smart that is. I think I'm going to need Pithing Needle. Yeah, I think Pithing Needle. Yes. Yeah, alright, so Needle their Gideon. Okay, and then I don't need to activate Ballista now. So they can definitely make a human this turn. I can mow down 2 humans. Sure. They have another play? Oh boy. 2 mana remaining. They do not. Good. I'd like to keep my Karn in play, if at all possible. So everything attacks Karn. The way to have the most board left over. I don't think there's any way to do it. I think I just have to kind of lose everything here except for keeping Karn alive. which I think is worthwhile. No, I can crank my Ballista twice. What am I talking about? So, add a counter. Go block, block, shoot, shoot, add another counter. Yeah, so we just lose the Daxos here. So what's the right sequence for this? I think it's shoot one, shoot another. So then I have them dead no matter what, and then I add a counter. So now if they had a removal spell, adding the counter, yeah, would let them stop me from getting a point out. All right, so we lose Daxos. My devotion to white was pathetic, so Daxos had all of 2 toughness, but we're still in this, and we got a Ballista we can crank twice a turn, which is reasonable. So Arcanist Owl. This is a gigantic Ballista, isn't it? That would be amazingly bad. 7/7 Ballista that can't activate. Well, it's good that I kept the Karn alive, I guess. Yep. Alright, let's top deck some fire. That is great. Thanks, deck. Do you want to animate this? Sure. At this point, I don't think it's a problem. Nice 7/7 nerd. This does mean I cannot minus my Karn under like any circumstance, but I think I'm okay with that. And crank my Ballista, crack back for 5 maybe? So if they finally whiff to draw step, that'd be great. Oh no, they also have a castle, but I have a Ballista. Anafenza, well that's, yeah. Can just kill her. Yeah, and then I'm in the same spot. Sure, make a creature. It's a token, doesn't trigger her. Non-token. Yep. Enjoy not resolving, not triggering. So, can I attack this turn? I think I can. 8, 9. Okay, so boot up the Pithing Needle just in case. Make a human. Do I want to attack a Ballista? I'm going to kill Anafenza anyway, so yes I do. So, put them under the pressure that we can. Leaving the animated Pithing Needle back and animate, because I think if they're able to somehow attack and I want to be able to have an extra blocker, it would let their Gideon turn back on, but I think it's generally worthwhile. And then let's add the counter now. I don't need to like try to play around anything fancy. Just like making the human token, I didn't need to do it. Oh, I guess making the human at sorcery speed means if they draw Baffling End, they can remove the human. But they could remove the Pithing Needle that way too. Okay, so Ballista's gonna ping the human token. Yeah. So we're in okay shape here. Opponent's having a bit of a crisis figuring out what to do with this. If anything was earlier, it was like theoretically something to do. The would have been Needle on Castle Ardenvale, but that's no longer in any way something we'd be doing. So play Gideon. Is it going to activate on the Ballista? And they have a 7/7 blocker forever, which I don't love. So whereas I can get Glass Casket and remove it forever, which seems good. So I don't want them to know I'm going to do that. So let's plus on Gideon just in case, I guess. Plusing on the human helps. Alright, let's go combat first. Get my attack in. They can make a second creature. Then I have to pump Ballista if they double block. Otherwise, I can just plus Gideon on one of their humans. Sure. Would you like to double block me? Do it. Do it now. Come on. Sure. Which means I get to plus Gideon on one of these. You get to minus Karn, get Glasket, and then get rid of this giant scary Ballista, which was ravaging my mana every turn. Now I have a bunch of options, so that's great. I like having options. We're in a great place now. Karn can make a 2/2 Glass Casket, so we can start cracking in with a bear, and it's considerably better than animating the Pitting Needle, and we got there. It's game number 2, so we gotta make it through game number 3 here, but my opponent's way down on clock, so hopefully we're in good shape. Looks alright. Gideon the Trials came in like semi-clutch there. He was already. Karn was definitely A+ that whole game. I think on the draw I should actually put in more Knight of the White Orchids. Tomik is not particularly good here. And then so let's submit the. I think this game is going to be long and fair. So I can cut a Thraben Inspector and try to submit like this. Just pull up a little bit. Elspeth Conquers Death. So Elspeth Conquers Death and Glare of Heresy is how I can remove their Gideon's interventions, which getting my Immortal Sun in would have been nuts, but I think when the game was in that state... Ooh, do I keep this? I think I do. Glare is just such a powerful piece of removal, and we have enough time in this matchup to draw the things that we need. Idyllic Grange is a slow start, so that's nice. Having the Elspeth Conquers Death in hand is nice. I wonder if they will ever be forced to be in a situation where they feel like they have to. That's a really good turn to shoot. Because we can't glare that. Okay. So we're not adding to the board much at all here. Hopefully they play a Heliod this turn. I wonder if they're just a little too clock conscious and they're just... Ballista, sure. Or not Ballista Plains. Nothing, eh? Well, alright, I'll take it. Now they get to crank their Ballista, assuming they have another land, so that's pretty great. Could play Karn, they get to attack it for 2. But then I could remove it, so... They didn't play the 4th land pre-combat. What does that mean? They land late? No, they're not. Owl. Crap. Nice 2-for-1. Now I've got Heliod in hand. Okay, so how do I navigate this turn? If they play Heliod, they can give the Ballista lifelink, attack me, and I die. So that won't work. If I play Karn, it shuts off the Ballista. They can only attack for 4. I can't minus Karn, but it gives me a turn, and then on the next turn I can Glare and Heliod. Jeez, this is really tough. Well played opponent, that's for damn sure. Oh, this is a brutal one. I think I have to play Karn and plus on nothing. And then if they have Idyllic Grange, it will come in and be able to do the thing. They just won't be able to Ballista me next turn, and then I can glare the Heliod off the battlefield. Play my own Heliod. And then lose my Karn. And I think that's as good as it gets. Okay, here we go. Let's not die. One of the nice things about this line is that Karn is not white, so give the Arcanist Owl lifelink. Yeah, they swing in. They put the counter on the Ballista, I assume. Which I could... So this turn I'm going to have more options, because now I can exile the Owl, which turns off their Heliod, play my own Heliod. If they're able to attack down my card, I just lose, but... Okay. Then second Heliod doesn't beat me that way. And then if we make it to the next turn, we get to Elspeth Conquers Deatham, which is pretty good. They might already have a second Heliod in hand, so I think this is a good line. So we do that, plus Karn on nothing, play our own Heliod, and pray a little. Alright. If they hit Karn for 1... Put the counter on the Ballista. That means if I ever let the Karn leave the battlefield, I just die. But I can actually combo them back if they don't set themselves up. So let's see what happens. It's very, very easy. Okay, it's very, very easy to lose this here. Very, very easy to lose this here. Glare, sure. That's not a combination that'll do it, though. Yeah, so they give it lifelink, which I was kind of planning on anyway. They attack my Karn. Yeah. So I can get Pithing Needle and play Elspeth Conquers Death this turn. And Needle Ballista here. And I Elspeth their Gideon, I think. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Suppose I could just play Arcanist Owl this turn. Okay. Knew I was going to choose Walking Ballista, eh? That's fair. Elspeth Conquers Death. Target the Gideon. Get that boy out of here. Sure. They can get the emblem here? Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really matter. Okay, pretty good turn for us. Yeah. So they made their block Walking Ballista 2/2. Maybe I get to exile it. Let's see. Arcanist Owl flipping something relevant would be good. Yep. And if it dies, I'm not too upset about it. Stasis Snare or another Owl? Snare sounds pretty great. Yeah, just get that Ballista off the battlefield. Pass the turn. And then if they attack with Gideon, I chump block it and then get back my owl on next turn. Hopefully they do that. Stasis Snare. Crap. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's really, really, really good. Oh, boy. All right, so getting hit for 9 here. All right, so I got to get rid of one of their permanents. If I draw Karn, that's... Oh, I can get Karn back. Sick. Sick nasty. Put a loyalty counter on that boy. Forgot that was a part of his abilities. All right, so I get to Wish here. I can get Sky Sovereign or Walking Ballista. I think Ballista's better because it's a potential blocker post Gideon, and I have 6. I haven't played a land yet, so yeah. Oh, but I can't activate Ballista. Good catch, me. Good catch. So I need them to not be able to... No, even if they make their Heliod a creature again, I'll be okay. Not great, but okay. So Sky Sovereign snipes down their Gideon. So there's me forgetting all of the text on Elspeth Conquers Death, but that's okay. We don't have any creatures, so a lot of their removal doesn't work right now. So here's hoping we're in a good spot on this one. It's going to be tight. Very, very tight. Getting to Wish again with Karn would be pretty unreal. Okay. Also Gideon. Well, that's pretty good. So I'm going to fire that off. We're going to make their Heliod unable to activate. Play a land. Use my Karn to get the Owl from my sideboard, I think. Just put that in as a blocker. Maybe try to pick up something useful here. It's also really good for my Devotion pips. Give me a Heliod as well. And then Arcanist Owl can actually crew Sky Sovereign on block, so. Is this Stasis Snare? No, it's just a human. Cool. Definitely okay. Oh, wait. I goofed. All right. If I had been more clever, I could have animated Sky Sovereign and attacked, killed their human. Which would have been great. Thraben Inspector's fine. It's not enough devotion yet for them to attack. Idyllic Grange, sure. Do 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 beep beep beep. Bidoo. Okay. I don't want to Karn Wish again yet. Let's see if I can attack with my Sky Sovereign this turn. That would be groovy. I think I'm going to leave back the Owl. Just having a bunch of blockers here is not a problem. If I had more time on my clock, I definitely would play the Heliod and give it lifelink and all that. Looks like we made it. Just squeaked it through, and our opponent dies by clock out. Although, I'm pretty convinced that we were going to win this game anyway. But, yeah, it definitely seems like the Karn build is like favored in the mirror match. But other than that, I'm not sure. Cool, so we hit the 3-2, just barely. So, this deck did not feel quite as powerful and clean as the 2 previous leagues that I've played with Mono White Devotion. I'm not entirely sure if Karn gives you things that you need in this deck at all. Being an extra copy of Ballista is kind of cute, and being able to shore up your matchup, quote-unquote shore up your matchup against Inverter seems alright. But at least one of the versions I was playing had 2 more Gideon of the Trials, or 1 more Gideon of the Trials, and some Alive Zendikars in these spots. And that was mostly the only change. I don't think it was playing Elspeth Conquers Death. I've played ones with main deck Rest in Peace. That's also a really good way to hedge that matchup. So not convinced that Karn in this list is the best thing you can be doing, but definitely a fun thing to do. Super neat. Unfortunately, the one time we wished for Immortal Sun, our opponent had Gideon's Intervention main deck, which just shut us out. So that was quite the play. So I'm just going to throw it over to our in-between screen. And then we're going to hop into Modern with a deck that I've never played before, but does feature 4 copies of Karn, the Great Creator. It is Eldrazi Tron. So stick around if you're interested in some Modern content. If you're checking out on the YouTube, you can find this or find me on Twitch as well, going live several days a week, usually Monday to Thursday from 8 till late, and then sometimes in the day on Friday. Have yourself the very best evening. Okie dokie. Step 1.